Listen, the Texas Longhorns and the Oklahoma Sooners are officially part of the SEC, and Kentucky has an advantage on these two teams. And we'll talk about what that means on today's episode of the Wildcats Today podcast. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak, writer and editor over at Wildcats Today, joined as always by Carson. Carson was able to join us. He was able to take a break from what he was doing in Rupp Arena, clearly, to stop in with us and record this. So, Carson, appreciate the time. Appreciate you. You found a way to get away for a minute. And how you been, buddy? How was that grind?
I've been good. I've been good. I just got out of the ice cream line. It was pretty long, but
swirl.
Yeah, definitely a swirl. I'm a swirl guy. Got to have a little bit of both.
Gotta have both. How was that grind?
Oh my gosh. I could rave about that concert for hours. That was the best concert I've ever been to. And I've seen the likes of Drake. So I think Zach's got him in the performing aspect, in my opinion.
It looked like a great time, no question. But Carson, getting into this today, you might go, well, how does Kentucky have an advantage on the basketball court over Texas and Oklahoma? And listen, and this advantage could be compared to some other SEC schools, but you got to remember, Carson, where did Coach Pope and Coach Fueger come from? BYU.
Yeah, BYU and Baylor.
Where did Coach Brooks come from?
Baylor.
So what conference are those schools in, Carson?
Big 12 with Texas and Oklahoma.
Boom. You're not running with me. You're hitting me with sarcasm, and I will not stand for it. But so, you're playing in a conference with those two teams. Coach Brooks was at Baylor forever and ever, like 8 seasons, I believe. So, he has played coached against Texas and Oklahoma for a long time. Coach Pope and Fueger have been at BYU. They've been in the Big 12 for a little bit now, and they were able to play against those teams last year. Last year, BYU beat Texas at home, lost to Oklahoma on the road. But Carson, and we're going to talk about, obviously, Otega Oweh coming from Oklahoma. There's an advantage there, too, knowing the system. But, Carson, what are your original quick thoughts knowing, okay, hey, our coaches coached against these guys, coached against these programs? Does that get you excited? What do you think about that?
Yeah, that definitely gets me excited, especially knowing the fact of how well our coaches game plan. So Pope is definitely known for his analytics and his strategy, and knowing that he has gone up against both these teams and their respective coaches a good amount of times, that makes me feel a lot more confident coming into this season, especially adding them to the SEC, knowing we'll play there both times as well. So it's good to know that they have already been in that environment, and they've already game planned against the likes of those teams.
Yeah, and here's the deal. This is the reality. So our other coaches is Cal at Arkansas and Coach Barnes at Tennessee and Bruce Pearl at Auburn. Are they going to be able to game plan for Texas and Oklahoma off film? Of course. Yeah, they are, obviously. But something about having played against a team in person, having played in an environment in person, getting to know another coach system against your system. How's it work against my system? That is what I think matters here. And listen, it is an advantage. I mean, is it going to be, is it going to change a line in Vegas? No. But it's just something that makes you feel better. And I'm serious. I think knowing that, okay, so Otega obviously has played home games for Oklahoma and played at Texas. He can tell us, okay, hey, what are we going to expect when we go to Oklahoma and we go to play Texas and Austin? What can you expect? Unfortunately, and I hate this, Rupp Arena does not get to welcome, these teams to, and it's football too. We got to go play Texas and Austin.
It's ridiculous. They're ducking the Cats.
Yeah, they're scared of Kroger Field and Rupp Arena. I mean, they're scared. They don't want to come because what are we gonna throw at them, Carson? Well, Texas at least. There it is. There it is right there. We're allowed to do it. We have no affiliation. I'm allowed to throw the horns down. Some others might not be. I can't.
You might
But
get flagged, or their coaches might want you to get flagged for it.
yeah, there's no 15-yard penalties here on the Wildcats Today podcast, ladies and gentlemen. That's just the reality. But you know, and it so like then speaking on Otega, Carson. I mean, obviously this applies more. The only advantage Otega having played at Oklahoma would give you when it comes to Texas is having, he's played against that system, he's played against that staff, and then he's played in that environment. But knowing that he knows Oklahoma's coach and Oklahoma's system well, and Oklahoma's coach was actually the guy that took Loyola Chicago on that Final Four run. I actually met him. Did I tell you this? My roommate Asa when I was at Wasabi, his dad was an assistant coach at Loyola Chicago under Oklahoma's current coach. I actually met him once. He's a really nice guy, but we're gonna have to whoop his behind. But so that's Oklahoma's coach, and then Texas, it's that I think his last name is Rooney, isn't that right? He took over when Beard left. Let me look.
Yeah, I can see a face. I can't put a name with the face.
Yeah, I think it's something Rooney. I'm gonna look up. His name is Rodney Terry. I mixed that was something else. I don't know where I got that from, but Rodney Terry, he's the guy who took over when Chris Beard,
So Loyola Chicago, did they have the kid that was like his name was like Kurtwig or something? He was
Cameron Kurtwig.
Yeah, you got to remind me of Cameron Kurtwig.
Okay, well, we're gonna call it a day right there. That's pretty funny.
Basketball skill wise. Hey, he was a baller.
He was a great player. That's actually pretty funny because I can see that, especially when I'm
the mustache. Yeah,
I have a plan. Just for the record, I'm going to Spain in like 5 days. I have a plan for this, so don't judge me yet. I got a plan, and if it doesn't work out, we're gonna take care of this. Just give me a couple days. But so when it comes to Carson, when it comes to Otega having played at Oklahoma and played against Texas, what advantage do you think that brings this team? Do you think it matters? I mean, what does that bring this team?
Well, I don't know if it's like a huge advantage, but he'll help the team prepare for the environments for sure. Against Texas, it doesn't really have a huge advantage, but against Oklahoma, he'll know the game plan. He'll know who their guys are that are going to be their stars and who they rely on mostly. So he'll be able to fill us in a little bit on that and maybe help game plan a little bit with the coaches kind of.
Yeah. And it's just one of those things. We don't want to sit here and act like this is the most significant advantage ever in the history of sports, because it's not. But I do believe that this will play a role in these basketball games. I mean, it just will. Knowing a system, knowing an environment, knowing what you're walking into is a good thing. I mean, from our experience, Carson, I mean, there were some high school baseball games where we got some hectivity thrown our way. Would have loved to have known I was walking into that. You know what I mean? Shout out Lafayette. I still wake up and cry sometimes for some of the things that were said.
Yeah, they always had the best environments.
They did. They really did. But the point here is it's not a huge advantage, but it's an advantage. And in sports, in basketball, you'll take any inch you can get. And obviously this isn't an advantage over, it's more of an advantage over other SEC teams, but still, I mean, it is an advantage over Oklahoma playing I guess Ole Miss. Chris Beard was technically there, so that's actually a terrible example. But terrible example. But I mean, pull another school. I mean, let's just say I don't know where Vandy's new coach is from. Arkansas is a good example. That was a safe one. Arkansas. Cal hasn't really coached against these teams, these programs. He's got to learn the system. But obviously, Coach Cal is great at game planning and in-game adjustments and stuff. So I don't think he'll have any issue with that. But nothing.
No, I had to go off screen. That was great.
Okay. No, okay. I just want to make sure. Because I was about to say that was great. But so yes, we want to reiterate. It's not the most significant advantage ever, but it is an advantage, and we'll take it. And that to me is something, anytime you can get a little advantage over another team, that's exciting. Now, before we call it a day here, we do have a few more conversations to have about other stuff. So 3 conversations we need to have, Carson. Football commit. I want you to tell us a little bit about Darren Peterson and a little bit about who could be the last player on the 24-25 roster. So let's start with this football commit, Carson. Thoughts on this kid, in-state, highly ranked guy?
Yeah, so he's a top 150 recruit. His name's Javion Campbell. He's out of Western Hills, where Wandale came from. And so they produce good talent over there in Frankfurt. But
especially when you bring your knee pads.
Yeah, that'll be a story for a different time.
That'll be a different time. Was that Western Hills, though?
But this kid's a stud. He's a 6'5", 6'6" end. And the coolest part about him is he actually didn't start playing football until a couple years ago. So he's still early in the process of becoming a great football player. So I think between now and his time at UK, he could develop into something that maybe a little Josh Allen-esque, you know. He has that frame. So really exciting stuff. Vince and Mark have been absolutely killing it. I can see this Kentucky class being the best class we've had since they've been here. So shout out to them. And we're going to talk football more in the coming future as it gets closer to the season. But as of right now, the recruiting class is on fire, and I only expect it to get hotter throughout the week. There's two more names. I won't go into further detail or ruin the surprise, but keep an eye on Atkins out of Ohio. He's an offensive tackle, and Dwayne Galloway Jr. He's a corner out of Ohio. So 2 names to keep an eye on.
They have really recruited the state of Ohio well over years. And another thing to add on this, Carson, this was the first question I ever asked Coach Stoops when I first started in journalism, and it was at SEC Media Days in Atlanta 2 years ago. And I asked him, listen, back in the day, Kentucky was missing on the highly ranked in-state targets. Examples would be Jedrick Wills, the tackle for the Browns, now went to Alabama. Damian Harris also.
And Wandale at the beginning.
Yeah, went to Nebraska. I remember I got into feuds with people in Nebraska about that.
Me and Nebraska people were not seeing eye to eye.
Because I knew Wandale. I played baseball with him one year up in with the Stangs up there, and I so I knew him a little bit, and it was just people were bashing him, and it made me mad. I was I got into it with some Nebraska folks on Twitter back in the day. But keeping these in-state targets in-state is starting to happen, and it's so huge. Dane Key, now Campbell. I mean, this is the stuff, and there's more examples than that. So obviously, a lot of offensive linemen over the years. This is huge. This stuff matters, and Kentucky is doing it, and I love to see that. So in this class is sitting number 20 right now on 24/7 Sports. I think it's got a chance to be top 15, Carson. I really do.
I think it has a chance to be top 15 by the end of the week, and then we'll climb from there.
Whoa, red hot. All right. So Carson, you were listening to a podcast and you want to tell us a little bit about what's going on with Darren Peterson, who we're going to call your guy of this recruiting class. He's your guy.
I like that. I could be labeled with Darren Peterson, similar traits on the court. I'm just kidding. But no, so I was listening yesterday to the Aaron Torres podcast. If you all haven't listened to it, I would go recommend it. It's a really good pod. But he kind of went into detail about Darren Peterson's recruitment and updating it. And he said that Darren would like to make a decision sooner rather than later, which means I would think after these visits that he scheduled to UK, Louisville, USC, and I think Washington, I would think we would see a decision in the near future. But he also talked to Darren Peterson's dad, Daryl, and Daryl said that, he said that Kentucky was Darren's dream school growing up, which is never a bad thing.
No.
And that they had to kind of rebuild the relationship once Cal had left. But that necessarily wasn't a bad thing because I think Pope does a really good job at making players feel like they're a priority and kind of what role they're gonna play when they're at Kentucky. And so that goes along with one of the last things Daryl said. He said he wants to go to a place that best suits him and his ability and where they're going to play him and what role they're going to use him in. So I think Kentucky's looking at a real good spot right now. I would put Kentucky and Kansas up there as the leaders as of this point, which is it's going to be kind of hard to beat Kansas because I found out that Darren does have an NIL deal with Adidas.
I've seen that might play a role. Yeah, and I made fun of you the other day for saying that.
Yeah,
I was like, "What are you talking about?" And you were right. I'll give you that. I'll give you the flowers when you're right. You're right about that.
Yeah, but Kansas is an Adidas school, so it might be tough to pull them. But if it's his dream school, you never know what can happen. And I think we do have a really good shot at him. So that's exciting. And I will say this: it's very interesting to see one team not make the list or visit list.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Arkansas not making it is kind of telling about where all of that stood previously.
And that he wants to play at Kentucky. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not for the front, not the back. And, that's a great
exactly. Point. So that was good news to me. Again, if you haven't listened to it, I'd go listen. I forget what the name it's Aaron Torres podcast. I forget what the name is on YouTube exactly, but it's definitely a good podcast. I'd recommend it.
Yeah. Last conversation, Carson, and this is about a kind of breaking news. Not breaking news, it was last night, but Jeremiah Fears, who was previously committed to Illinois, is a member of the 2025 class, decommits from Illinois, reopens his recruitment, and he's interested in it. Carson, do we have word? Is he officially reclassified, or is he planning to reclassify? As of what I know, it sounds like he's planning to reclassify, but nothing's official yet.
Yeah, that's the strange part. No one has really officially came out and said that he's reclassifying, but the tea leaves read that that's probably going to be the case.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an exciting news drop. He played on the USA team with Jasper Johnson when they went. I forget where they went, but they played together, and he's a really, I think he's an elite guard. He has really good handles. He plays the game at his speed, which is always nice to see with a guard. He controls the tempo of the game. So he's definitely someone to monitor. And he tweeted last night, he said he received a call from Kentucky, which was kind of weird to me because I feel like there was probably at least 10 other programs that called him, but he wanted to tweet out the one that Kentucky called him. So that's always a good sign. But this would be a good piece to end the class with. I don't think that he would make I don't think he would take a ton of time away from other players either. I think he could be also a development piece. But I think he's an elite guard. So that would be something that could get me really excited.
Yep. I'm with you. Well, that is going to do it for today's episode. Listen, Mr. Carson Nash is making his writing debut next week, ladies and gentlemen. It's very exciting. I very much appreciate Carson. He's going to basically do my job while I am in Spain, which I greatly appreciate. So everybody go check out the website next week. It's going to be exciting to watch you start to write articles, buddy. It's going to be fun.
Shout out Miss Mullins from Lexington Catholic. That's where I got all my learning or writing skills.
You weren't in my class, but I was Miss Mullins' favorite. I got the best.
I was her favorite. I know for a fact I was her favorite.
No, I bet. I would be willing to bet $20 that isn't true. Because you knew the joke in high school was, I have dyslexia, and everyone you say Andrew's not the best at reading. Obviously, now this was a joke, remember, but I got the best grade in that class on all three papers. I will dunk on. I'm going to have to list everybody that was in that class. I'm not going to. But best grade, all three papers. Miss Mullins, I was her favorite. I will put $1 million down on that. We're going to email her. We're going to find out.
We have to.
We're going to get back to y'all on this one. We're going to say we need an actual answer. But it's a lot of fun stuff coming up. While I'm in Spain, we're going to pre-record some episodes today, actually. We're going to do some player previews to break down some different, who player previews. And the plan is to have a show come out, obviously, today, Tuesday the 2nd. We're going to put our show out on the 5th, knowing that it's a holiday on the 4th. Everybody have a great 4th of July. Let's keep all of our fingers put in reverse if you need to.
Put in reverse, Terry.
Yeah, we have then we'll have a show coming out on the 9th, the 11th, the 16th, and then I'll be home and we'll have a show on the 18th, probably recapping what all has been going on. So that is the schedule. Hope everybody has an outstanding rest of their day today. Click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Check out Carson on the keyboard next week. It's going to be electric. And we appreciate y'all. Keep hitting that subscribe button, and we will see y'all on Friday.